That was a really beautiful piece. I'm really delighted to read my poems after your performance. I'm going to read from Dreamt by Ghosts. It's a book that started life as a diary of dreams, and it became more about coincidence and walks in strange places. And it was a return to analogue ways of working for me. It was all written in a big blue notebook, apart from the visual poems, which were all made on a typewriter. I'm going to read from the lyric poems that are in the book with some fragments from the diary in between. A very short manifesto. 1. I am a librarian that likes to cut up books. 2. The hidden energy of language becomes visible when breaking apart individual letters. 3. The source of poetry and dreams is the same. Ghosts at sea. Ghosts at sea specialise in eating other ghosts. It's the way it is, just like business. A career charting a life like a dreadnought without a captain, steering itself like a magnet through the Bering Straits of 50 years, finding its outpost in photographs. Time to live? But how do you practice what was only a shadow? How do you dance on an island? It's time to take a slow lunch outside a window, watching the street, everything you didn't know. Waiting. Could it be that ghosts were simply lonely people who died, and death, making no difference, lingered on, waiting? Been living like this for days, same thoughts, same things, been prowling these floors, looking for a loophole, been raging in my mind and stuck behind glass precise, like a cicada dehydrating in prayer. Been watching my son become trapped in his loops, like a circus artist, practicing art in view of his critics. He's on the same wire, but hasn't learned to fall, been learning how to watch without knowing what to say, seeing the extra minute of sunlight make tracks across the floor each evening, gaining a centimetre more each day, been thinking of the past, how we've all lived like beatniks now, even the mistakes in their ticks, been watching the outside world as if it's a cover, been waiting for it to change, for the hours to start to race like untrained horses through the streets, been learning new words, wondering when I'll use them, been trying to read, been trying to listen, even tried to write something down, stepped into the shadow song of a blackbird, met my mum in the park, walked through the graveyard, been around this way before, and know I could fall, and know I could pull through, watching my dreams instead of the news for some kind of prophecy, been wondering who will be when this is over. At the National Poetry Library Christmas meal, a colleague tells us about a tortoise his parents found years before at the crossing of a road in Chelmsford. None of the neighbours claimed it, so they gave it a home. Years later, on the day they were moving out, they saw another tortoise crossing the road in the exact same place and took that one with them too. Meeting Mark Fisher, a poem. Sometimes I meet Mark Fisher down the pub. The good thing about hauntology, he says, is that no one really dies. They just live on in a present which doesn't happen. Fisher always looks so normal with his baggy jeans and Stooges t-shirt. Last time we met, he recommended 3 bands, Japan, Tricky and Burial. I spent the next 3 weeks writing out messages. WTF, Mark, this stuff is awesome, before realising I don't have his number. Instead, I write things down that I want to ask him next time we meet, such as, if culture is moving sideways, will it fall off the edge? And if we're haunted by unrealised futures, do we live in a past of dreams? The landlord accuses me of talking to myself. Yesterday someone told me Mark Fisher had died. It occurs to me he's been a ghost all along, and it's only a matter of time until we meet for real. Cause and effect. Everything that ever happens to someone takes place because it was once dreamt by somebody else. Biography. When I was new and full of days, and my birth was in darkness, I crawled through heaven's bandwidth to the sky's thorny outage, placing my cross in the hull of a time-blind star. I steered and cauterized my overspend on toys, walking where the graves were greener into a headwind of no-shit Shylock. A globe rolled over the shyster sand, and the bittern was dangerous. Would you take the cup off your ear? I entered corrupt arcades, sand forts glistered in a cosmos. I thought it was Florida. It was Albion forever. I lay in bed when I cusped and was hacked by the sun 9 times, a jellyfish veined with lumens. I never poked that stingray. There was a time my life was trimmed like the marble rind on a clock, and I watched a moth the size of a beefsteak climb the glass. We locked prehensile eyes, it with its face like Mozart. That was the year the meteor landed at my son's feet, magnetized by fate. He said, "It's called sand, Dad, because it's between sea and land." They said the sea was a mother, but to me it was a kitten that had since lost its mother. I could hear the insides of snails and sometimes see with the lens of a kestrel. Living for this, the hour when my lungs outspanned like a jackdaw. God's spirit was the same as my spirit, so I said 21 prayers and wrote each day, knowing that Christ was the same as Bacchus. I believed in a reverse paganism in which objects manifested as gods, spirited. I was played by the weather like a mood board and could see blue in storms and red in snow. Alcohol made my teenage anxiety subside. When I was 40, I cut back drink to reduce my anxiety. My son became a found poem. The alphabet lived in the clouds. Leo licked and August tanned. I roared each summer inside the sun. Dreaming Obscura. We go on, dreaming Obscura into the future, any minute now. Thank you.